Samariwo from Afripi, whose program continued to support enforcement capacity across Africa. I appreciate everyone here, public and private sectors alike, for showing up with a shared interest in protecting intellectual property, supporting investment, and finding ways to stop IP crime in real and practical ways. Why is this conversation important? Intellectual property protection has become part of almost every conversation on trade and investment. Whether we are speaking in Geneva, or Brussels, or Washington, or South Africa, Addis Ababa, or here in Nairobi, and with a good reason. Because counterfeiting is not just an economic issue. It affects our health, it affects the safety, our jobs, and more importantly, national security, and also trust in the market. Kenya has been in this field, and it's one of few countries in Africa to have a stand-alone agency, that is Anti-Counterfeit Authority. And we are dealing with a multi-faceted problem, whether it is in terms of agricultural input, like fake agro input that are likely to ruin our harvest, counterfeit medicines that endanger lives, or pirated products that undercut legitimate businesses. IP crime is taking a real toll on our economy and our people. And the role of our institution is to respond to this challenge. Through the law, we are not just mandated to combat counterfeit trade by enforcing it, but by working in collaboration with businesses like yourselves, the consumers, and international partners to prevent it from happening in the first place. Because counterfeiting is not only in Kenya, but counterfeiting cut across in the continent and in the world at the same time. And how are we working together to curb this menace? Our engagement with the European Union has grown over the years. For example, I remember well in 2022, we had a great event together with EU when we were discussing and sharing knowledge about the enforcement of IP. At that time, we were implementing the recordation program, and we got very good insight from EU and other partners at that particular point in time. That training helped us to ground for something, and up to that point, we have rolled this program nationally, and the system is working, although not perfectly well, but we are aiming for perfection. That is not just a regulatory tool that we are using, it is an enforcement strategy, because it helps us to spot fakes at the border point or before they are imported into the country. And this is aimed at protecting the right holders and also giving consumers and importers clarity on the issues of compliance. This is a kind of cooperation which is focused, which is also practical and forward-looking. And this is exactly what makes a forum like this useful. What is Kenya doing in regard to this? At the Anti-Counterfeit Authority, we are also making progress in other areas, and over the years, we have scaled up inspections and seizures through our multi-agency operations to nab counterfeit conduits of agro inputs, including seeds and fertilizers products, electronics, and alcoholic beverages, leading to seizures of good worth over 5 billion Kenya shillings across the country. We are also working with other government bodies toward the release of the national IP policy and strategy, and we are hopeful that this strategy will be developed and implemented in the coming weeks with the support of the World Intellectual Property Organization And now we're also doing validation of this particular strategy. We are also running public education campaigns in partnership with industry and media. And through feedback from the private sector, we are improving on how we can handle complaints, follow up on reports, and close cases. So anytime you have got issues of counterfeit, you are free to report to us. You can always log on to our website, how you can report any cases, what you suspect to be a counterfeit, and then our officers are going to swing into action. And there is more to be done, however, but the commitment is very clear. Kenya is serious about creating a safer environment for innovation and investment. Today's session reminds us that IP protection is not just a legal matter. It is also about building trust in markets. When a product is genuine, people can use it with confidence. When a business knows its brand is protected, it can grow and hire people. And when investors see that a country takes enforcement seriously, then they are likely to put their money where it matters. That is why we need to put all our effort together, whether we are regulators like ourselves, business community, civil society, development partners. We each have a role in making sure our economies are not weakened by fakes, fraud, and unfair practices. As we continue these conversations, I want to mention that on June the 6th, Kenya will join the rest of the world in marking World Anti-Counterfeit Day. This year, our focus will be on raising public awareness and strengthening cooperation across enforcement agencies and the private sector. We welcome all of you and to collaborate during these celebrations so that we can also share our experiences and lessons. Let me conclude by saying that this event that we are having today is not about one institution or a country. It's about joining efforts. It's about people, our businesses, our health, our institutions, our safety and security. So we are doing the right thing by coming together and sharing the experiences. Thank you for honoring this invitation to be part of this session, and I look forward to the panel discussions and the idea that will come out of it. Asanteni sana. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. And I'll request that you be the first one to take a seat at the front. I was hoping I would get you before you reach the table. And as he comes, let's appreciate his very, very good words. So thank you so much. We have learned a lot from you on particularly what our country, Kenya, is doing as pertains issues of intellectual property. So at this point, we'll have a short panel discussion, short because we also want to hear from you, and therefore I want to invite our panelists. I start with Gregor, who has already been here to take a seat, and the others, I will just mention the first name because I'll give them time to introduce themselves. So Bwana Neil, please join us. Let's appreciate them as they come on board. We have Madam Aida, just to break the monotony of the gentlemen. They are all our very good panelists. Karibu sana. Then we have Mr. Yugi, please join us, and Mr. Maina from the Anti-Counterfeit Authority. We appreciate all of them, and as Bwana Maina comes up, I want to request each one of them, in no specific order, to introduce themselves. And maybe I could start from my extreme right. So I'm sure there is a mic not very far from you. And remember, the discussion is all about intellectual property protection, enforcement, what kind of investment climate do we want to set, and of course, all towards digitalizing trade with a special focus today on the Anti-Counterfeit Authority. So Mr. Maina, please go for it.
Good morning, my name is Henry Maina. I work at the Anti-Counterfeit Authority as the lead in research and policy. Thank you and welcome.
Thank you very much, Maina. We just flow. Yeah, please go on.
Bismillah. My name is Isaac Yugi. I work for Mabati Rolling Mills, Safar Group, and I'm glad to be here.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Aida Galindo. I am the AFRIPI project leader. I am part of the European Union Intellectual Property Office. And yes, I will explain later a bit about my project. Thank you.
I hope it's not a counterfeit.
Again?
Now we can hear you. I am saying I hope the mic is not a counterfeit.
No, hopefully it doesn't explode. My name is Neil Nariman. I'm the General Counsel of Intellectual Property for Puma SE in Germany, the sporting goods brand, the Jumping Cat. Another hat that I'm wearing is the President of the Federation of the European Sporting Goods Industry, representing the interests of the sporting goods industry at the European level with all European institutions like the EU IPO or the Commission or the Parliament. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. I think it's still in order that we hear your name from yourself.
Good morning once again. Habari zenu. My name is Robbie Bogwa Jeroge. I'm the team leader at Anti-Counterfeit Authority. Thank you.
And Gregor Schneider, the IP Regional Council of the European Union for Africa and based in the delegation in Cameroon.
So thank you very much. I think, Tom, you need to tip our enforcement inspectors to come and check the microphones. But of course, on a light note. So thank you. Let's give them a clap. We appreciate them for the good round of introductions. So we'll go into the statements. Each of them has said they will be speaking more, and therefore we need to hear a little bit more from the introductions. They have indicated what are they doing, and therefore now we need to know what is it about intellectual property, protection, enforcement, whichever aspect of it, what are they doing? And at this point, I would like to begin with Madam Aida. She has said she comes from AFRIPI. Maybe some of us don't know what AFRIPI is, so yeah, your time. You can speak from where you are.
Yes, good morning again, and thank you so much for inviting me to be part of this very interesting panel. I was also part of the first edition of this business forum, so very happy to be in the second one. And yes, as I said, I am from the EU IPO, European Union Intellectual Property Office, and I'm the project leader for AFRIPI, which is a very interesting Pan-African project covering the 55 African countries. And we ran for 5 years. We are ending now first phase, and next year starting the second phase. We have $20 million, 17.1 million euros to work on IP cooperation in Africa. So we do several things: policy, legislation support, capacity building, support to institutions, geographical indications, SMEs also, everything in relation to IP. So today I would like to share a bit of my experience, because being a Pan-African project covering 55 countries, we do a lot of regional activities. So we have, during these 5 years, seen in all our work on enforcement and anti-counterfeiting a bit what are the common challenges, what are the lessons learned that we were deriving from this. So, of course, with our mandate to be the promotion and protection of IPRs across Africa, anti-counterfeiting and enforcement is a key area because IP crime really undermines economic growth and discourages investment and threatens consumer safety. I think investment is the area we are talking today mainly, no, in this business forum. But we really try with all our activities to do a multi-sectoral stakeholder engagement. And therefore we work with government policymakers, with judges, customs, police agencies, brand right holders, such as my colleague here, consumer organizations, Interpol and Afripol for regional police organizations, and WIPO also. And we have been doing different activities over these years. I will not go into details, but for example, in Nigeria, we organized a counterfeiting roundtable. We have done also an association of judges specialized on IP in the 17 French-speaking countries called OAPI for IP Regional Organization. Also, we've been doing trainings on judges for the English-speaking Africa ARIPO region called 22 member states. We have even done a specific initiative for North Africa anti-counterfeiting, and also another initiative for the PALOP, the Portuguese-speaking Africa. And in all this, we, as I say, we involve all the stakeholders. So in Nigeria, for example, we had the pharma companies, the spirits associations. Then in other activities as the North Africa, we were also involving very much Afripol. Then we did even 1 year ago here in Kenya, a regional, that also ACA was kindly part of this, a regional workshop on enforcement, where also Afripol, Interpol, and all other stakeholders came. So one of our first lessons learned will be that. Very important to have all sectors collaborating and working together, sitting on the same table, on the same forum, to collaborate in preventing IP crime. Another lesson learned from our regional perspective would be new technologies. So nowadays, piracy, of course, is evolving, is really top technology. So we need to use also our best technologies like blockchain and other things to prevent IP crime. And for example, at EU level, the EU IPO has an enforcement tool where all customs share information, where all stakeholders share information about piracy and counterfeited goods. And it's quite a good tool that we would be happy to also share for non-EU countries. A lot also that we have seen in all our activities is the lack of awareness of the consumers. They think IP is really a harmless thing, no? So when I explain, you know how many million people die every year of counterfeited medicines, anti-malaria, even cosmetics, they can really harm your skin, or even toys for the little kids that we love so much, our little babies. These things people do not understand, that counterfeited goods really have an impact in our lives. So we try also to really pass this word, and also not to think just that buying a counterfeited good that you know is counterfeited because it's cheap is just about saving money. But also all the IP crime, like the mafias, the human trafficking that you are supporting, funding by buying counterfeited. So this is also an area that we definitely have seen across Africa. So yes, I think I really wanted to be brief. So I think these are some of the takeaways of these 5 years of regional activities through the AFRIPI project on enforcement. We have also, as I said, been doing some specific setups. We are now, for example, with the Portuguese-speaking countries, we have helped establish a group on anti-counterfeiting in Cape Verde, following the example of Portugal. And also, we have a roadmap to continue working. We are meeting in 1 or 2 weeks in Angola to continue working on that, and also ACA will be part of this activity. So yes, basically, this is what I wanted to share. I could talk much more, but just for time constraints, this is what I would like to say. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Madam Aida. Let's appreciate her, and thank you so much. A very good regional perspective, and definitely when you talk about consumers, when you talk about the IP technologies, among other things, some of us get a bit excited to know more. So at this particular point, I want to welcome Mr. Maina to give us a little bit more of what is ACA doing on enforcement of intellectual property. And of course, Madam has mentioned about the other countries and what they're doing. Where is Kenya as in relation to the others in Africa?
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. I think the starting point is to reiterate that Kenya is a unique country in the region. We are the first country in the sub-region to have a dedicated agency that is combating counterfeiting. So if you are looking at sub-Saharan Africa, we don't have a comparator, as it were, because either in our sister countries, you have competition authorities and customs authorities also undertaking counterfeiting work. So there are times when, as Kenyans, perhaps we beat ourselves so much, but it could be important that we begin by pointing out that in the 15 years of existence of the Anti-Counterfeit Authority, we have come a long way. I'll just give you an example that we have received an estimated 2,450 complaints from IPR owners. And most of those have resulted in cases where the suspects have been found guilty and or have had the goods forfeited to state for destruction. If you are to compare that to the number of complaints received from consumers, which is nearly twice 4,037 complaints in that period alone, most of those complaints coming in the last 5 years, then that tells you that we are making some headway. Our CEO began by pointing out that we've seized counterfeit products or infringing products estimated at 5 billion, and equipment or accessories estimated at about 6 billion. So including just, I think, last week, we have been able to seize a machinery, which is over 10 million shillings that has been used to make counterfeiting bottle tops and the others for the alcohol sector. In terms of cases, we have filed and registered in courts over 449 cases since inception, with a 76% success rate. Sometimes people would ask that there are people who then have gotten away with it, but I would like to speak to the point that for most cases where the IP rights owners come on board and we are able to push the cases together, there is a slim chance of the suspect managing to escape. But there are also times when IP owners tend to say we are a small market. And I'm sorry to speak to the international IP owners. So we arrest about 2,000 shoes or pair of shoes, and they ask us, how many containers did you arrest? Because to them, 2,000 pairs is a drop in the ocean relative to the market. So one of the things we are trying to push with all IP owners is to speak to the issue of zero counterfeits. So whether it is 2 pairs of shoes or 10 containers, let's all say no to counterfeits and see how to move that process. There is also something we are doing in terms of education, and Madam Aida began by pointing out the low awareness levels. So increasingly, we are discovering that there are 2 sets of consumers. There is a set of consumers that buy counterfeit goods because they've been cheated deceptively. But there is also an emerging class that buys counterfeit goods non-deceptively. You want to have a certain brand. So let me use Puma because Neil is here. So as a good footballer, you would know that the best of football boots are Puma. And if you are going to be in Eastlands as a young football player, carrying around a Puma football boot is a marker that you are in a different class. So you will find a number of those boys carrying Puma labeled boots for social status, so that when they play with teams from Westlands and Southlands, who are thought to be more perhaps richer than the Eastland ones, they would be wondering how are the Eastlands one affording to have this. So non-deceptive buying of counterfeits as a social status issue is also emerging, even as Kenya emerges as a middle-class country. So the middle class as the drivers of counterfeit buying is beginning to be an issue. But we must point out that a recent research we've had has just pointed out that our contributions have moved the country from a low of 60%, 63% level of awareness to 87. The research we are launching later next month has shown that there is increased levels of awareness. But then now the question is, what do we do with the awareness? Because there are people who are aware, but they are still buying. When you're buying your girlfriend, you're buying your mama or relative a handbag to take home at Christmas time, you are still going for that counterfeit one. What if they discovered that it is counterfeit? What would you have done to your relationship with them? So these are going to emerge as subsequent questions, but a partnership is already also emerging for us to protect local innovators and creatives as we get along with enforcement. We started a recordation process a few years ago, and that recordation process requires that innovators or IPR owners register with us so that we can uniquely understand your product, so that when we go to the market, we are able to enforce on your behalf. If you've not recorded, it becomes extremely hard for enforcement officers to be able to manage that. And I'll give an example. Last week, we've, for the first time, seized boards. Increasingly modern houses have such boards. And we never thought that such boards could be counterfeited until a recent seizure that happened. But the owner of the boards that we seized had not even recorded with us. So you begin to see the challenge that when the officers are going there, how do they differentiate between the genuine one and the counterfeit? So recordation is available to all IP owners, international and local. Local have been exempted from paying any fee as a way of jump-starting them and knowing that it's been a process for us to have an understanding of IP valuation, IP protection process. So if you are a local innovator and you want to protect your product, please remember the starting point is registration, the next point is recordation, and then enforcement can ensue. If you don't get to do that, then we have a challenge. So as ACA, we welcome all types of partnerships. We want to help educate the young, the old, and the middle. Remember, I've said the middle are the ones that are buying deceptively. So we still want to engage with your groups at whatever levels you are engaging, in whatever language that may suit you. We are available to try and engage in that process. And for the EU, I think it's for us to move the process, and I like what we have been able to do together, supporting those joint sessions, trying to look at our laws to make them better, because if Kenya gets the laws right, East African community will get the laws right, and Africa will get them right. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Minor, let's appreciate him. And as I go to the IPR owners, I'll get back to the ED to maybe just comment on some of the seizures that we have had, not in terms of the products or the value, but in terms of what policy improvements can we possibly have in the country. So thank you for that. And just to emphasize Mr. Miner's message, we are here. The Anti-Counterfeit Authority is here for you, regardless of the size of your business. So we are here to serve you. We are here to serve the country. We are here to serve all consumers. At this point, we get to hear from a different perspective, from the private sector perspective. And we have Mr. Can I say NN? NN. You need to protect that.
Is
so Mr. Neil will talk to us from the perspective of the international brands, and then we'll hear from the local perspective. So Mr. Neil.
Thank you, Agnes. Good morning again. Just for my interest, how many first-timers are here and how many lawyers are here? No lawyers?
There's a young one here. Please stand.
So for most of you, IP is something completely new, and
Here she is.
there she is. All right, all right. Good to see. Good to see. Very good. No. First of all, I would like to thank the ACA for all their support and good work that they have provided to not only my company but also other right holders since 2008. Puma was one of the first companies that was working with the ACA back in 2008 through our lawyers, because we learned from our distributor that there was a factory called Kenafric in Nairobi that was producing fake Puma plastic shoes, and that was our first case in Kenya. At that time, I had no idea how to do enforcement in Kenya. We had no lawyer. That's why I brought my South African lawyer to Kenya, and we finished the case successfully after a couple of years. It took some time. And over the time, I had a lot of meetings and trainings with the ACA, understanding better how they enforce the rights in Kenya. And talking about Kenya, I think it's very important also to stress that we are talking about different countries. We are talking about Kenya and not about Africa. It's not when we do enforcement as a brand and we go to South America, we are not talking about South America or Latin America. We're talking about separate countries. Enforcement in Brazil is different than in Peru or Bolivia or Argentina. And the same applies to the African continent. Our structures, internal structures are different. We have a subsidiary. The conditions, the environment, the legal framework in South Africa is different than in Kenya or in Nigeria. And talking about these different countries, as a brand, and Gregor and Dr. Roby were talking about the climate for investment. For a brand, for a company, it is different if you have already an established business in a certain country, and then all of a sudden you are encountered with counterfeit, with fake goods, or if you want to expand your business and enter a new market, which happens to be for many brands that want to come to Kenya. So if my senior management makes a decision, okay, we want to expand to Kenya, we want to distribute our goods in Kenya, of course, they are looking first, making a business plan, they're looking, okay, what is the environment, how is the market, are we able to sell, is it profitable, different factors, different parameters that play a crucial role in that decision making. And Kenya, from a brand perspective, has been very, very difficult because before you enter the country, it is already full of counterfeit goods. And every brand, especially the sporting goods industry or the fashion industry, has to compete from day one with a massive volume and influx of counterfeited goods. The more we were happy when we learned that the ACA was established, and over the years I observed also the challenges for the ACA. First of all, the ACA is very unique, not only in Africa, but worldwide. There's no such thing as a designated and dedicated anti-counterfeiting agency in any country of the world, but in Kenya. So congratulations to that. But of course, it's not only about to have such an agency. It's like having all the laws, legislation in place. If there's no will, no political will to enforce these rights, any agency or any institution is of no use. And in the beginning, the ACA was established or had a lot of rights to enforce our rights, which over the time were unfortunately taken away. The most important authority that the ACA had in the past was that they could prosecute the cases by themselves and not by the state prosecution. And of course, I would like to use the opportunity to speak up here, is also to promote the return of the prosecutional rights for the ACA, which gave them more possibilities, more authority, giving directions to the police authorities, to the law enforcement authorities, as well as to customs. And talking about customs, and you mentioned the zero tolerance policy of brands, of course, we are happy if 2 pairs of shoes are seized. We are more than happy if 2,000 pairs of shoes are seized, and we are super, super happy if you seize a container. The more, the better. Puma has a zero tolerance policy, but of course, it has its limits when it comes to budget. We have not infinite budget, so every case that has been opened after a complaint with the ACA has to be followed up legally. So either we have to file criminal procedures or civil procedures where we need lawyers, which are costly. The whole procedure is very costly. We have to store the goods, which is also very costly. So enforcing rights for a company is also about budget. And the most important thing, as many custom seizures as possible. And I know for a fact that in the last 2 years, the relationship with the ACA and the customs authorities has really, really improved. I know of many visits of the ACA in Mombasa at the port, and we're hoping to get these seizures, which make our lives and most probably your lives also easier. The second thing is that the ACA is also dealing with organized crime. I don't know who mentioned that. I think Aida was mentioning it, mafia structures. So on one of my visits, I wanted to see, okay, how does the market look like? Where can you buy counterfeited goods? And even though it was not recommended, I took an Uber to Eastleigh, and I found a lot of stores, and really big stores, very fancy, very big. And I went back to the ACA, and I was like, hey guys, why don't you do anything here in Eastleigh? It's full of counterfeited goods. It's not really difficult to find these goods, to seize them, to store them, to prosecute the case. And yeah, Dr. Roby and his colleagues told me, yeah, but Neil, this is not as easy as it seems, because behind these guys that are selling those goods in Eastleigh, and unfortunately I have to say that these are mainly Somali businesses with an Al-Shabaab background. I understand, also from a right owner's perspective, that it is really difficult to cope with such a problem, which you will not encounter in other countries and jurisdictions. So again, thank you for your support, also when it's dangerous, and yeah, combined with a lot of challenges and obstacles, and as a right owner, we are more than happy to lobby for yeah, more capacities and authority for the ACA. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Neil. That's appreciated. Thank you so much. And just also to add that he has talked about the budget limits when it comes to follow-up and maybe surveillance, and they do facilitate that by training the officers at the Anti-Counterfeit Authority. So if we come to your shop or you come to report to us, do not ask, since when did you become an IPR owner or agent for Puma? We get trained, and actually a training that will be happening this week. We really do appreciate the collaboration. Stopping at the goods, counterfeit goods at source from the production, Henry talked about recordation. This is why we need recordation, because then, and coupled with import module, which some of you who are importers know about, then we are able to take care of that from the source. Our last, okay, not last, but the panelists seated almost far end on the right next to Henry, Mr. Isaac Yogi. Did you say from which company?
Yes, I can repeat.
Anytime you sit under a roof, you can maybe ask, what is the roof made of? And he will tell us more. He will give us a little bit of the experiences on issues of IP from, again, the private sector perspective. So, Isaac Yugi from Mabati Rolling Mills. So over to you, Isaac.
Thank you very much. I think there's a reason why businesses invest in a country or operate businesses. And one of the key reasons for doing that is actually to make profits, especially if you want to be a profit-making institution. Now, some of the things that we do behind the scenes include research and development, include marketing for our products, include consistent review and registration of our IPs, but the biggest dissatisfaction is when you meet your brand or somebody purporting to have a brand similar to yours in the market. So infringement crime is actually one of the key disadvantages that we are facing. Now, I had a question. I don't know, from the room, has anyone seen or heard of a collapsed residential building? Maybe by show of hands. Collapsed residential building. It seems this table is, yeah. Yes. I don't know. Haujasikia ghorofa imeanguka? Collapsed residential building. Too many, eh? But by show of hands, who has seen a collapsed commercial building? Commercial building. That's not a commercial building. That's a residential building. The one which was brought down in Mombasa. That's a residential with shops. It's not a commercial. Commercial is, let me give you an example of KICC or Britam Towers. I think the message is very clear. There is a variance. And the variance here is that when you invest in such a commercial outfit, there is possibility that and you want to know the type of material being bought, being placed in your investment. Is it true? Yeah, so next time there is a collapse of a residential house, you need to ask yourself question, was the steel proper? Was it a counterfeit steel? Did your contractor buy from an institution that has a reputable brand? Not necessarily ours, but are there specs? Are there warranties? So those are some of the things that we are looking at. So I've already given a sensitization. Now, to help us meet the objective of fighting IP crime, we have to collaborate very closely with state actors. And some of the state actors that we collaborate with very closely include ACA. Basically, since they are the body that is mandated to fight counterfeit in the country. I like Dr. Robbie's presentation that the first IP case in the Republic of Kenya was from steel industry, not Puma. Puma is the best shoe. I'm talking about Kenya. The first case of IP crime was actually Doshie, which is also in steel industry. So steel industry is counterfeited. Is highly affected by counterfeit, sorry. So we collaborate closely with the ACA, and some of the key successes with these collaborations include suo moto operations. Madam Agnes has mentioned that through training, she has mentioned that Puma trains their inspectors and employees. Basically, through training, ACA is capable to identify counterfeited brands in the market, and they are able to do suo moto on their own volition. So these are some of the benefits of collaboration. The other benefit is the industry becomes flexible to provide intelligence to ACA to enable them do interceptions and seizures at the border points of entry or exit. So that is also a benefit of collaboration. The other one is the joint market surveillance activities, because if you engage well, and if you have a structured approach into fighting IP, then it's easier for ACA to coordinate joint market surveillance where you identify hotspot areas and you are able to do interceptions and seizures. I think lastly is the issue of open door. Unlike many agencies, for us we believe on two approaches. Approaching ACA as individual industry, because some cases are specific to an industry. And the second approach we have is collaborative efforts through industry associations. For example, KEPSA and KM, as he has mentioned. And by so doing, you find that we are even able to review or recommend review of some of the laws that are maybe blocking ACA from doing some certain interceptions or activities in the market. Lastly, I think the comment by my colleague Henry is that the first seizure of gypsum board, I think he meant gypsum board, because steel industry and construction industry is linked. And I'm also having a question which I posed to him. Previously, we used to see, unfortunately, houses that have been affected by fire. But generally, you can see the structure, you can see the frames. But nowadays, when there is fire, you will see an almost collapsing house. I don't know whether somebody has observed. So one of the key discussions we had informally was that we are praying to ACA to also go and check this gypsum board and find out what are the components. Is there any chemical that is being used? Hypothetically assuming that some of it found its way into some certain houses, what are the effects of those boards if they come into contact with water, for example, during rains, if the roof is leaking and it affects your body or it lands in your body? So this is just by the way to ACA so that they can look into it. But all in all, I think the market has been disrupted, but the efforts by ACA, the number of seizures which Henry has elaborated on, the interceptions, the distractions, and also the cases that are pending before court. I think it's time that ACA invite maybe members who are here in the next distraction so that they can see with their eyes the type of which have been counterfeited and affecting the industry at large. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Let's appreciate Yugi. Thank you. So whenever anything like the collapsing of the buildings happen, it's good to ask ourselves a question. And what he has brought up in that particular case, the fires, the collapsing, is actually our collaboration with the other enforcement agencies. We don't work alone. Like with the boards that Henry has talked about, for that analysis, is it of good quality? What are the components and all? We bring in other agencies like the Kenya Bureau of Standards, and we work together and build a case against this business person. We call them the scrupulous business persons because they are all out to dupe the consumers. So we do work together with other agencies. And at this juncture, we would want to now come back to you so that we can get a few reactions, a few comments and questions. So I will allow 2 questions, and then I'll go back to the CEO for the comment that he does. Wow. So we'll go by rows, because if I say which hand came up first, you might say I am a counterfeiter. So I want to start from the far right. I see 2 questions. We'll take the questions, answer 2 of them, and then we go back to...
Thank you very much, Madam Moderator. And I thank you also, our speakers in the panel. My names are Joshua Adem. I come from private sector. And I have only 2 questions. And the 2 questions will go to my good friend in the panel, Mr. Robbie, and anyone from his office also. You have spoken and you've given us all how you are trying to minimize the counterfeiting or substandard goods in the market, of which is our main problem when we go to importation or export. Now, from one of the speakers there, the only lady amongst you, I've gotten how she has spoken very well the way they are trying to encounter the counterfeit products and substandards in their country of origin. And from your perspective, also you explained how you've met the EU in the previous meetings. But now my question comes, you have not given us what technologies did you acquire from your colleagues from the EU, which you have implemented to reduce the counterfeit or the substandard products within our territories, so that we who are importing have the space in the market. You have not given us that technology that you have advanced, because this is where our problem lies mostly. Because you find, and in the previous meeting also we have questioned the camps. The same issue arose Because we see in all areas the substandard goods are the ones taking the market. So can you give us your direction on this so that when we enter into the EU market, we don't bring our products here, then we ground them because of the counterfeits? Thank you very much.
Thank you, thank you. I request, thank you so much for that question. I believe CEO has noted, and also Henry, if need be. I request we keep the questions summarized so that we are able to pick as many.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Eliud, CEO of Guru Hygienics Limited. My question is a general question to the panelists, mainly regarding the right observation that you made regarding the construction of buildings these days. There's mainly a lot of proliferation, that word, of substandard metal and materials. So what measures are there in identifying these items for ease of the middle class in purchasing them?
Thank you. We can take from this row, again, 2 questions.
Thank you very much. Good morning. I really enjoyed the discussion, very enriching. My name is Chelsea Owino, a lawyer by profession, an environmental sustainability and climate governance consultant working with Center for Education Policy and Climate Justice, CJ. My question relates to the balance of intellectual property rights in light with the cross-border data flows that are there. And the question is, how can Kenya as a country balance the protection of intellectual property rights with the need for open digital innovation ecosystems, especially when we're talking about the trade environment increasingly reliant on the cross-border data flows? Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Owino, we go to the next one.
Okay. My name is Tiberius Muhindi. Work with the Union International Limited. I have 3 questions here. I'll go very fast. My first question is about what are the current IP laws sufficient to support ACA enforcement actions? And if yes or no, what are the legal gaps need to be addressed? Number 2, how can the AU and African partners improve cross-border intelligence sharing? Because where the interface of cargo, it is through our borders. So how can we, that partnership, how can it be improved? And then the last one, maybe just to understand, how does ACA try to differentiate between counterfeit goods and substandard products? And then the final one, what are the plans to implement the blockchain, digital barcodes, or NAI-driven tools for supply chain monitoring? Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think we can take those ones first. Okay, I see a hand, and there was another one here. And then we'll proceed to answering the questions. There is also one at the back.
All right, good morning. Good morning. All protocols observed, and I'm Margaret Kimani. My question will be very practical. Maybe and by the way, very good panel. I love the information that we are receiving. I'm on the investment banking world. I run my own consulting, but we have a group of company, and one of the things we've done is impact investing. And I'm very surprised because so I'm trying to bring this very home, especially in the counties. So we run an innovation hub, And we have one of the innovations we registered with KIPI. So I'm sitting here thinking, wow, you know, a lot of times I believe Kenyans will agree that when you register with KIPI, which I understand you work closely, we always assume that you're sorted, you know? So I'm very congratulations to you guys that this information can get to some of us so that we can educate the counties. Now back to my innovation. So walk with me to Kajiado County. For the visitors, welcome to Kenya, but you see, we have very many counties in Kenya. So if you're going to the rural area, I'm trying to just paint a picture to myself and think, what, if I don't know about ACA, how will my Ma community, especially for my case, who can have a lot of innovations, how are you doing it? Maybe you can paint a picture for some of us, because we are also your brand ambassadors on the ground. And secondly, a lot of innovations are happening in the educational institutions, which I'm a big fan of. How can we bring this so that we are not talking here in Ole Sereni, and there are many universities. I believe that there's collaboration area there, and then you can apply innovation hubs. I sit in the Association of Countrywide Hubs. And this is also an arena where you can actually collaborate with us, and we can, you know, educate people on the ground. Because of course, Kenyans, we are very good innovators. And thank you. And especially around ESG, climate smart solutions, innovations. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much. We'll have one last question for the gentleman at the last table, please. I think that was the hand that was there before. And then,
Good morning. My name is Omar Kofa Komora. I work with Maria Agri-House Products. I want to understand with the ACA, I don't want to look at it like if it is betting on one side. For example, that is the ACA might be looked at if it is protecting the IP holders. And in this regard, I'm asking, does ACA build capacity? For example, if there is an organization which is producing a similar product, do you look at the ingredients of that particular product, or you look at the value or the name of that particular product? In this regards, now if an organization is producing a similar product, has employed some youth there, and how is ACA now coming in here? Is it to close that organization, or are you building the capacity of it? And then I'm also looking at, there are some counterfeit products or items have been seized at the port, but they disappear. Where do they go? What is your work on that particular product? Because you are the one who sees these products and they disappear, and the person who have imported it is going at a loss because of that action. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you all for the great participation, the comments, the questions. We tried to address as many. I realize we have only 4 minutes. Yeah, so I'll just turn to the panel. I'll begin with the CEO to comment on where he feels important to do. But we also have Henry to come in on behalf of the ACA. Afripi, Madam Aida, I know there was a comment that came for you. So let's respond as, yeah.
Thank you very much for those great questions. I'll start with the last one. Goods do not disappear. Because you said that we facilitate disappearance of goods. My clarification is that we do not. And actually what we do, we only, once we process those goods, we destroy them. Yeah, once the goods are destroyed. But if there is any criminal element in the process, then we have administrative action that we can take, and we normally take against any staff members. Then there is also a question. Let me start with the first one. Joshua, whether we have acquired any knowledge arising from our interaction with EU and other partners, and the answer is yes. There are a number of things that we have done as a result of that. The first one is automating our systems. We have a system we call Anti-Counterfeit Integrated Management System, which is incorporating recordation module as well as import module, case module, and depot management module. That is one. We have also learned a lot in terms of collaboration, and currently ACA is at the forefront in pushing for enactment of East Africa anti-counterfeit bill and policy. The last meeting was done this last week, and we are hopeful that by the end of this year, we are going to have a unified law across all the 8 East African member states. The other one is on awareness creation. Yes, we are doing a lot in terms of awareness, and I think the lady from Kajiado, yes, we are able to collaborate with you. And we have realized that counterfeiting mostly become a problem because of a number of issues. Maybe allow me to highlight what we have realized through our research. One, the issue of differentiation, difficulty. Majority of people do not differentiate what is counterfeit and what is not counterfeit. Maybe you can give me this. When you look at this water, what ACA does, or the interest of ACA, is in this name called Dasani. Dasani, that is a trademark. That is our main focus. And somebody also asked the question about our different law with KEBS. KEBS deals with the standards. When you look at this water, we have, at the back there, you have an ingredient, maybe saying the minerals component. That is the work of KEBS, looking at the standards, including what the building sector is also doing. That is the work of KEBS. As we comes in, when it comes to the name, that is Dasani, which is intellectual property. And we realize that intellectual property is a big family. It starts with a patent. We have the trademark. We have the industrial design, the way this glass, or rather the bottle looks. This is protected under industrial property, what we call the design, the design itself. Then once we have the design, we have the name, what is called trademark. And trademark can also be in regard to the product and also services, because like Kenya Airways is a service. Or when you go to KFC, that's a service. Can be called a service mark. Then after that, we have copyright. Anything that is written here can be protected under copyright. And those are things that we can also have an engagement with business owners. And that way we are also encouraging you, for all of you who are importing goods, maybe from China or from any other destinations. We always encourage you, instead of imitating somebody's name, because once you imitate somebody's name, that when we are going to swing into action, come to your shop, or seize your good at the port. And then it's bring a lot of political chaos. You can imagine there are a lot of political issues at Nyamakema. And sometimes I said, my officers there, then we wait another battalion of people waiting for us to fight our officers when we are trying to enforce that. So we always encourage you, come up with your own distinct name. Even when you are going out there in China, register it with the KIPI and also record it with us. Once you do it, if it is yours, nobody is going to lay any claim on that. But the moment you call it Dasani, and you know it's not your Dasani, remember that we will come for you. That's number one. Then there is also issue of Eliud on proliferation of substandard. I think I've answered that question, distinction between what we do at the authority and what Kenya Bureau of Standard does, because it's a look at standard. So you can have a substandard good which is not counterfeit. But also you can have a standard good that meet all the standard, but it's what? Counterfeit, or vice versa. Then there's our Kiri, who asked about the question of the balance of IP. How is Kenya doing this? And what we are doing currently, we are working very closely with the regional states. We have been very instrumental in development of IP law in Uganda, which is currently in their parliament. We are also working very closely with the Fair Competition Commission of Tanzania, which also deal with the counterfeiting. And that is the reason why we are pushing for enactment of a uniform law, just like the one for customs, that is going to apply to all member states. right from Mogadishu all the way to Kinshasa. Then there is also a question on what IP laws, whether there are any legal gaps. Yes, there are some legal gaps, and we are working on amending the Act to address some of the issues. You remember now we are in the issue of AI. We have issues of blockchain, somebody has mentioned that, so that we can also incorporate that as well as the digital space, because most of the counterfeiting is also happening on the internet, and our laws have not recognized that. Yes, we are also moving toward addressing that particular mischief. And then on the issue of sharing of intelligence, yes, we are doing it. Within the East African community, we also have our brand owners, like from Germany or from any other jurisdiction in the world. They're able to share that information with us, and that's why we also use when we are enforcing. And how does ACA differentiate? Okay, that one I think you have mentioned. The issue of migrant countries on the innovations. Margaret, I've answered that. Do we take ACA to the grassroots? Yes, we do. And I'm also happy to know that we have developed anti-counterfeit curriculum read by Agnes. And Agnes, you're able to now to engage further with the stakeholders and how they can also be trained on the issues of counterfeiting. Because when you look at our act, one of the functions is to create capacity of the consumers and IP owners, as well as law enforcement agencies. And I think that's what I can say. Those are the responses that I have, but Maina, maybe if there is anything that I may have omitted, you can add. Thank you.
Thank you, Edie. I think you've captured quite a bit. Actually, I believe you've learned through all the questions. But of course, in case Maina would want to add, but just bring it to your attention, we have very few minutes just for closing. Therefore, Maina, as you add on the comments, please make it short, and also give your 1 minute closing remark. And we'll move like that as we do comment on the questions and 1 minute remarks.
Okay, thank you. I would only answer 2 questions. Omar, does ACA build capacity of parallel producers or close the body? We do not support people who are committing IP crime, but we would suggest to you that if you are a genuine innovator, that you can get in touch with our sister organization, Kenya, which is also a statutory body that helps build innovators so that you can upscale your invention. In terms of goods disappearing, I think the CEO has spoken to it. I happen to be the chair of the Distraction Committee, and I can tell you for sure that we have destroyed goods in the last 2 or 3 years worth 500 million at 99.9% traceability. So the claim has been there, but it's not backed up by facts. For Chelsea, I think the issue of balance between data flows and IP protection, cross-border issues, I think the first question on the table is the doctrine of equivalence. So before data is taken from Kenya to Rwanda or to Burundi or DRC, do they have similar protections that meet the threshold? If they don't, then it becomes problematic whether you want to look at it from the data protection side or IP law side. So the first thing is that equivalence measure, and once it's done, then relational contracts can be built. For SCA and reaching others, I think one of the things we didn't speak about was that SCA now has regional offices, and in those regional offices, we are developing materials in languages appropriate to those counties. So we've begun to make steps, and then we'll be very happy to reach out to Margaret, because in our team we have very few mass speakers, and if you can join us, then we would be able to help and reach as many of those. The last part of, I think, Julius, on what can we do to improve intelligence, One, we can't share all those facts here because we will equally just be enabling the counterfeiters. But the truth is, every year, there will be an Interpol operation across the world, and it is based on intelligence agencies sharing actionable intelligence across board. But IP owners, consumers, and everybody else who has actionable intelligence is allowed to come to us. I'm using the word actionable because sometimes what is given to us as intelligence is business rivalry, and we can't just act on it because an individual has made a claim. We need to check its veracity. So for the rest of the people, I think our contacts would be available both within EU and within ACA. It is our desire to reach everyone, make Africa better, understand that the next riches will come from IP and not ownership of land and other assets. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We appreciate him, and go to Isaac.
Yeah, on the question on the proliferation of substandard material or counterfeits in the market, number one, we normally do marketing and sensitization across the country. We also are engaged as part of our engagement with ACA on road shows across the country. And when you mentioned Ma, I remember we were with Agnes in Namanga as one of our areas for the roadshow. We also do product knowledge and training for the fundis across. We did one last week in Kamakis, and we do them across the country, and other engagement processes. Now, on your side, you need to demand product specifications. You need to demand with D, because you are paying. So you need to demand product specifications and warranty. Because if you miss the two, then even follow-up will be a challenge. So you need to demand for product specification, and for major constructions, you need to include even certifications of the products being provided. At the same time, lastly, is to ensure that you use reputable contractors, not the ones that will let you down by using counterfeited or substandard products. When it comes to destruction, I think time did not allow, but Enric, next time maybe could explain on the destruction process. Dr. Robbie has mentioned some of the items being intercepted are not good for the environment and health, and continuous detaining them at the point of interceptions, they normally cause harm to the environment. So the best thing is to destruct them immediately, but there is a process. For the Interpol, I also participate in the OPSON operations. We call them Fagia Bandia. And one, I think, for this year has not been scheduled, but if you get in touch with the ACA, if you feel that there's an area, I think we can collaborate. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We appreciate him. As we go to Aida, let's appreciate Isaac. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I know we'll make it shorter as we come towards the left. No, yeah, so Aida.
Thank you. I will be very short so that my colleague Gregor can complement. I think on the question of what did ACA learn from EU in terms of technology and knowledge transfer, it would be more for ACA to respond, but from our side, just to share that what we have been doing so far is to share experiences and lessons learned from EU and also from other best practices in African countries. So for example, we organized an exchange of knowledge from the Mauritius customs officers who we brought here to Kenya and had a working session with ACA. We also, last year when we came to the enforcement activity we organized here in Kenya, we brought experts from the EU, former police officers, to share also experiences and very practical cases on the EU. So that is what we have been doing, and of course it's more for our partners to share how they benefited from this. But this is all for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Aida. We appreciate her. Let's appreciate her. And just to add on to what she has said, actually the program of recordation that Henry talked about, we have borrowed a lot from the best practice all over the world, the ones who are already implementing. Thank you. Have we patented NN? No.
You want a last word from me?
Yes.
Yeah, I heard all those questions asking about advanced technologies. Are there sufficient rules? Digital sustainability, all these current trends. I'm a very old school guy, and I'm dealing with anti-counterfeiting since more than 20 years. And what has not changed, apart from all these digital features, and of course we strive for digital labels. In the end, all these advanced technologies that you were asking about help us to distinguish the goods and to prove that they are indeed counterfeit. But what they don't do is to help you to detect these counterfeited goods and to enforce the rights. So in the end, what I've already said, it's always about the political will. It's still a very analog world. Goods are shipped with containers. They have to enter a country. You need customs to detect these goods. You have to enable customs. You have to enable law enforcement with money, with budget, with personal human resources to enforce the rights practically. All the digital features, are helpful in distinguishing the goods, but will not help you to enforce the rights. Do we have sufficient rules? I think every country in the world has perfect trademark laws, perfect laws that enable law enforcement to enforce the rights. Again, the political will, it's like with your traffic. I think you have all the rules in your country, but if you go outside...
Thank you. I hope that's a compliment, and yes, it is. Let's appreciate ourselves and appreciate Neil. And of course, with all the legislation, there is always room for improvement. So if you feel there is something that you would want addressed, our CEO's door is open. Please come, have a discussion, propose, and when we call for the stakeholders meetings, please also join us. So thank you so much. Thank you. And we go to Mr. Gregor, and then we'll finish with our CEO.
Yes, it works. Yes, wonderful. No, maybe two reflections also on the set of questions that we had. One is on the enforcement part. Of course, the exchange of intelligence across borders even is very important, because IP crime is an international crime, and so we need to intercept at the borders. So we in Europe have very good IT tools and databases that allow customs authorities to interconnect. So we have to foster this continental cooperation as well. I'm very happy to hear that at the regional level, East Africa, we are doing progress. We should be doing, we as the EU, we are helping regional cooperation, like for example, Aida mentioned the things that we are doing in North Africa with North African customs authorities. We have put them together and try to make them work together. But I think there's also a role for the African Union. We have Afripol, there's an African police organization like Interpol, which is sitting in Algiers, and they could take over some responsibilities, and we have already contacted them. It's about to convince them that this kind of crime is important to fight. Again, a question of awareness, but I think we are advancing on this one. The African Union itself, or the AFCFTA, is doing harmonization and also on enforcement, so there's advances. When we come to, we talked also about the titles and about cross-border and IP being one of the problems for inter-African trade. I think there was a question here as well. The AFCFTA Secretariat is trying to set up centralized procedures. So let's face it, there's people in Africa who are trying to put up central offices so that you can do your registration for the entire continent. Yeah? So there's proposals on the table, but they are discussed at a political level. Let's see where we get to. But this might be something that can really help businesses to get their title. And then for the enforcement, we certainly need a system of cooperation. Enforcement happens at the local level. I mean, there's no way that you only have a centralized agency. You need good agencies in all the member states of the African Union. And I think what Dr. Robbie said in the beginning or during his speech, it was, so Kenya is trying to do it right. If Kenya does it right, East Africa can do it right, and I think Kenya does it right also. Africa, the continental Africa can do it right. You're an example of what can be done, and I think working together with you, as I said in the beginning, helps us all to have a more efficient system in the entire continent. Thank you very much.
Thank you, thank you, thank you so much, Mr. Gregor, also for putting us as a country as the pace setter for the East African region and of course the entire Africa. Did you hear that? If Kenya does it right, thank you. So let's appreciate that statement and move on with it so that we also do the right thing. So as I usher in the CED, I'll request that Tom and Tim, you prepare to do a group photo just here as we finish. And I'm humbled to have been your MC. Today I was told it's Master of Conference, not Master of Ceremony, Master of Conference. And of course, we also say moderator. So thank you so much for your great participation. I want to leave you with only 3 things, very briefly. First one, as a consumer, you need to enjoy the value of genuine products. The value of genuine, because when you go for a counterfeit because it's cheaper, you know what is likely to happen. I know we have business people here, business communities, manufacturers, the entire supply chain. It is important that you protect your IP, and when you protect, Madam, I love what you said, you protect with Kipi and you sit back. Please don't sit back, because there are counterfeiters that are all over. So also follow up, talk to us as Anti-Counterfeit Authority, and definitely will be out to work with you. The last one, very, very important, collaboration. We are happy to come to you. Idi, allow me to say this. If you call us to come and engage with you for sensitization, whatever it is, we are open to that. We may be few on the ground, but we do a lot. So please also feel free. We also take the demand-driven kind of sensitizations and trainings. So feel free to reach out to us. Isaac will attest to that because they have called us and we have done it. So thank you very much. And now without much ado, I call in the CEO, Dr. Robbie Mbogwa, to close for us as we break for other sessions. Thank you and God bless you.
Hello, hi. Just 1 minute for a small information for you. I'm Chloé Dres from the EU Africa Business Forum facility, and we are working with the delegation to organize this business forum. Our aim is to facilitate the exchanges between Africa and Europe. And today we are conducting a survey. So if you have 5 minutes and if you haven't been interviewed yet, at the exit of the session, you will see my colleagues. If you can just take 5 minutes of your time, we are interested to know what are the deals that you maybe discussed during this forum, or the potential partnership that you had. So just thank you for your time, and see you outside. Thank you.